Welcome back, fight fans. We're back again. Uh, didn't fully quite get this set up there. Okay, we're ready now. So we'll start talking about, of course, last week's. That was UFC Jacksonville. Then we're gonna head on to this week's, which is UFC Vegas 76. Honestly, at this point, I'm not sure. Is this gonna help? No. I'm seeing obviously all of the yeah, the flickering. Anyway, we'll let that go. There's really not a whole lot we can do about a lot of this. Anyway, we'll jump right into that. And guess what, folks? We're in the green now. That's right. We got the money back. And I still made a bunch of mistakes, to be honest. I wasn't really happy with how I bet a couple of the things. And I realized it pretty quickly. And I kind of knew it at the time too. It happens. It happens, well, every week to me so far. We'll get there. But even so, made some mistakes, still made the profit. We're still we're doing it, you know? We're doing it. We're doing it. So, we'll start right away with that. And that opened up with the first fight of the night, and I'm not going to say I was worried right away because we did end up with some profit on the first fight, but I was a little just shocked, honestly. It was a really weird one to watch. This was Cody Brundage, Cedric Dumas. Technically, by the way, his name is Cedric Dumas. If you actually pronounce it French, which is, I'm assuming, how it's supposed to be pronounced, it's actually Cedric Dumas, not Cedric Dumas, as they keep saying. That's absurd. That's not as that. I don't think that's how you should pronounce his name. I don't know. Maybe that's how he's telling them to pronounce it. I have no idea. But if you pronounce it the French way, which is how it should be pronounced, I'm assuming, because I'm pretty sure he's from that Louisiana kind of area, I think, at least in the South, that is how it would be pronounced. But anyway, we're going to let that go. Cody Brundage, Cedric Dumas. I'll at least definitely say Dumas because Dumas is just stupid. That's not how it's pronounced at all. Anyway, that aside, I ended up going with Brundage finish. And I did balance it out with the over 1.5. I did toy around with the under. We did talk about that. And I made some real mistakes in the article. This is what happens when I get sober. I make a lot of mistakes when I'm sober. But, when I'm actually in the zone and I'm making my bets, that's when I make the real magic happen. And that's when I did pick the over because I was like, why would I bet the under? Especially when I'm betting the finish, especially when you never know with these two, especially with these two. Bet the over. I mean, there's a lot more money involved in there, and I'm glad I did, or else I would have been screwed this entire card. Uh, so I'm glad I fixed that. But yeah, Brundage finish. I really thought Brundage was going to get the job done. And I mean, to be honest, I mean, a minute into the fight, I think that's what we all kind of thought. Brundage was running away with it a minute in. I mean, he was smoking him with some good ones. And then out of nowhere, it was like, what the hell happened here? Like, what's going on? It was just a bizarre fight. And I see that we're getting a bunch of lag again. I mean, I fucking hate this so much. It's oh man, I can't wait to not be here anymore to have a better setup. But anyway, that's what we're dealing with. Whatever. Anyway, Brundage finish minus 110. I thought, I was like, okay, well, we're definitely getting this now. I was actually a little more worried about the over 1.5 at that point. I was like, okay, well, at least we're going to get the Brundage finish minus 110. It doesn't give us our money back, but we'll get at least a little bit of money back, and we'll call it a night. And Brundage was, of course, part of the parlays as well. So I was like, okay, well, early Brundage finish, it's fine, whatever. It'll balance out in the parlays, and then with that. But then that's not what happened at all. Brundage just completely fell off. I no idea what happened there. I've never really seen anything like that, except for honestly with the William Knight performance a couple months ago. That was the worst performance I've ever seen still. But this was pretty close. I mean, it was like halfway through the first round on, it was like, this is the worst performance I've ever seen. It was brutal, absolutely brutal. I have no idea what he was doing. Didn't really show up at all. Just awful, truly awful. I don't think we're going to be seeing Brundage around ever again, to be honest, because if I'm a promoter and I see that happening, you're not getting asked back ever. That's just bad, awful. So I don't think we're going to be seeing Brundage again. I'd be pretty surprised after that. Yeah. And I mean, they were making kind of a big deal out of like, oh, Cedric is Dumas. I mean, he's doing so well. He came back and he learned so much and he's doing well. It's like, to be honest, I don't think he really looked a lot better at all. I think he actually looked exactly the same as before. It's just Brundage just, well, he blew it. You blew it, Brundage. You had the power, you had the skill, you had everything, and then you threw it out the window. You just simply blew that one. I don't know. I really don't know what else to say other than he blew it. That was absolutely one of the worst performances I've ever seen. So obviously Brundage finished did not cash. The over did cash in, and I'm so glad that I put that in there, that it was going to go over, and that actually was 1 plus 130. Wow, my God, I'm looking at the units I won, and I fucked up the name. What I said, I mean. So over 1.5, that was at plus 130. So we got 2.3 units, which meant a 0.3 unit profit. So like I said, we were in the green right away. So it's not like I was worried. I was just kind of annoyed that that Brundage did that bad, especially like I said, when we had parlays. So right away, huge hit to the parlays, and it was like, oh, that's actually, it wasn't even a huge hit. He was F. So that was at the bottom. That's literally the bottom of my parlay list. So really not a huge deal. That would have been only 3 of the parlays. So obviously the all parlay, that obviously was dead. The ABDF, that was dead. And then the ADF, that was dead. But that's only 3 of the parlays. So already the way I set it up, you can easily still win a huge amount of money, even with the parlays that are still alive at that point. So we were still fine. It was just kind of more annoying. And I was annoyed really more so in myself that I put him in the parlays. I'm not even sure if I would say I regret picking Brundage. I think I just mostly regret putting him in the parlays in the first place. Yeah. Although again, I'm looking at the list now and it's like, who could we have gotten to replace him in the parlays? I'm not really sure if there was anybody. So I don't know. I mean, maybe we could have just not done all the way to 6 legs, just to 6 people to choose from. Maybe instead I could have just done 5 or 4. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there was a really way to fix that, to get around that, other than not having that many legs in the parlay. I'm still getting annoyed by the fact that I'm seeing that our connection is bad. I hate this shit so much. It's so fucking irritating. Anyway, so that was the first one. Again, I can't really even say that we started off bad. It was like, okay, the parlay, some days are bad, that sucks. But profit on the actual picks, which is what we were kind of looking for anyway. That's really what matters. Second one, that was Jamal Emmers. And how are we 10 minutes deep already? This is insane. Jamal Emmers, and I think it's Jack Jenkins. I had money on the dog, Jack Jenkins. I'm so glad I trusted him like that, because well, actually, to be fair, it was a split decision, and I'm not gonna lie. I thought I had M1, so I think that was actually us getting a little bit luck there, with Jenkins getting the win. Because to be honest, I don't think he won that. But it was really close in my notes here. I said it was very close, but it seemed like Emmers edged it a bit. Nothing really else to say. I think we did get just slightly lucky, and that was honestly the first time in this entire experience with this system, at least for sure, that I've actually gotten a win in a split decision. I've never gotten a win in a split decision this entire process. So that was nice. That was a nice bonus. And I mean, that actually technically was what pushed us over the edge with the profit on the day. So thank you, Jack Jenkins, that or whoever the judge was that gave it. That the judge that broke the tie there. Thank you. That gave us the profit for the week. No regrets there. Oh, and I did put the under. I'm not really sure if we ever really got close to the under, but I think it was kind of the right call anyway. Yeah. So that was a good one. Again, still in the green. Even more in the green now, because that was plus 160 Jenkins was, which meant 0.62. Uh, 0.2 fit on top of that, which means we were actually 1 unit up, 2 fights in. That's what you want to see. That is exactly what you want to see, especially with this kind of system. And then carrying it forward now, Chepe Mariscal, Trevor Peak. What did I say last week? Peak is going to get exposed pretty quickly. I wasn't sure it was going to be a fighter, but I had to take that line of Mariscal because I knew Peak is not the kind of fighter that should be fighting these kind of fighters like in the UFC. He's exciting, of course, again this time. But with the brawl of the night, a pretty obvious night, by the way, I think the UFC completely ripped them off on the bonus there. That was crazy. I mean, they gave Ed and Poirier the fight of the night. What? You put a one-sided beatdown that had moments of excitement over a 15-minute barn burner of Peak and Matty that had the entire arena, 3 fights to the night, the entire arena losing it. The commentators were losing it, that it was one of the most exciting fights they've ever been a part of, and they did a bonus. Are you joking? That is absolutely criminal. I cannot believe they didn't get the bonus, but I had to give them a bonus. I mean, come on now. But anyway, so Chepe Mariscal, him as the underdog, I had to put him on there. And I mean, it was technically even anyway. He was at minus 105. This wasn't really a true underdog, but had the money on that cat. Obvious. It was 1.95. So we got more money back. And I put on the over there as well. So that's double cash in there. So even if that wouldn't happen, we would have been like 0.05 units down technically in that matchup, but we got it back anyway. So well, actually, quality is if it's skipped lunch or not. I don't actually tell when because it says I've got 1 bar. Ridiculous of connection. I'd actually know how it looks when that happens. Not great, but anyway, we're putting on to do anything about it anyway. Over 1.5. That was plus 140. Plus 140. Huge cash that in as well. That was 2.4 units. Means on that fight alone, that was 0.95 profit on Scal and 1.4 on over 1.5. So that's for 2 units of profit on that one. We were killing it. Point that is almost. I think it was almost 4 years up. Point 3 fights into the night. I mean, come on, we're killing it over here. I mean, it was insanity. The I wrote Chepe way hard or way better. Though. I mean, the skill difference was just obvious, but he's still a beast, obviously. I mean, he never got finished. He was still obviously live until the end of the fight because of that power and everything. So, I mean, amazing. And I mean, it's not that I don't like Trevor Peak. It's just that you can't fight like that at this level. You cannot do that. You cannot fight like that at this level. You're going to lose. And we saw that. I mean, Chepe was making his debut and he easily won that. It wasn't even close. There was no question about that he was going to win that fight. So, again, huge profit. So let me do the math here. That's 1.5, a little over one. Oh, actually, no, that's like 2.5 profit from that fight. We had 0.5. That's 3.3. Yeah, it was like almost 4 units. It was a little less than 4 units up. 3 fights into the night. And then it takes a dark turn for sure. Zhalga Zhumagulov and Joshua Van. I'm not going to lie. I was a little bit surprised all around here. Joshua Van was about what I expected, maybe a little bit better, but I mean, Jalgus just didn't. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I mean, we're just not going to see him ever again, which is too bad because I liked him and he was really good. Like truly, if the Jalgus that fought against like Johnson and those guys, the split decisions that he lost, oh, Jeff Molina as well. If that version of Jalga shows up, I honestly think he still would have won I think he would have won this fight pretty easily. But I don't know. I don't know if it was a psychological thing, if he knew like, oh, like so many cancellations, the split decision losses. I don't know what it was because the first round he looked pretty good, or he looked okay. No, he did actually look pretty good. He won the first for sure, with especially with his grappling, and then he just didn't really grapple after that. So I don't know if he hurt himself mid fight. I don't know. There was something going on. It was really weird, and yeah, I don't know. And that brings me to the point that I was going to say is. ah, I don't think he should have been that high up in my parlays. And that is actually one of the main mistakes that I made on this card, is that I just put Jalgus too high. I should have known. And by the way, another split decision loss. Are you joking? That's like the fourth split decision loss for that guy. I mean, what the fuck? That's that's gotta sting. But I will say this is the only one where it was like, I don't think that was a split decision. I don't think that was I don't think that was close. I'm sorry. Like I like Jalgus, but that was not a split decision. That was very clearly should have been Van. I don't know how you could think Jalgus won that fight. That's silly to me. I mean, like it really is just silly at that point. Um, which is why I was getting a little bit worried for some of the decisions later in the night, because we were already seeing some weird scorecards. I mean, again, Jack Jenkins winning, that was a bit ridiculous, to be honest. And then Jalgus getting a split loss instead of a straight up loss. That was also kind of ridiculous. So already I was worried for later in the night with that many decisions going, especially when I knew Magny's up next. Magny's there. Barber, I put some money on. There could have been other decisions. I mean, like Robertson could have gotten screwed, and like there's so many decisions that I figured there was going to be decisions there. It's like I don't like the way this is going for me tonight. Thankfully, I mean, and it was actually no. Thankfully, that was the last weird scorecard that I can think of. I can't remember. No, I think that was it for the weird scorecard. So thankfully, that's where it ended. But yeah, I was getting a little bit worried. Anyway, yeah, I don't think Jaga should have been up that high in the parlays. I mean, I put him at B. When somebody has that many split decision losses and they're not really consistent, they're not winning, they're just not consistently doing well. That's a dead giveaway that they should not be in that slot. I just gave him the benefit of the doubt because he was going against somebody making his debut. The styles seemed to match up pretty well. And actually, like I said, the first round he did really well. It was just after that. He just fell apart after that. I don't know. Like I said, I still don't know what really happened there. It was kind of weird to watch, but you know, whatever. Still should have had him lower than B for sure. I would have even said probably should have had him at D. And then should have had, should have been Allen at A, B should have been Topuria, and then Brown should have been C. That's kind of how I probably should have had it. So slight mistake there. It did obviously kill more of the parlays because when you are B, that's a huge hit. That is a huge hit. Still didn't kill all of them because we actually did end up getting one of the parlays. So it didn't kill all of them, but it did kill quite a few of them, obviously, because again, B. So that's ABC. That's the biggest one that loses, of course. And then BCE, he also killed that one. And ABDF was already dead. So yeah. So yeah, that killed all of the parlays except for one, and that was the ACDE parlay. That was the Grand Slam. So we actually hit the Grand Slam parlay. So that was we put well, we'll get into that later, but we did hit one. Just remember that. So yeah, but I put money straight up on Jalgus because I wasn't sure if he was going to get a finish or a decision, and he was actually still at minus 200 by the time I put my bet in. So that is my limit, minus 200. So I ended up going that way. Yeah, like I said, obviously that didn't cash in, so that was a crisp 0 on that. And then I put the under in, and that honestly was never really close to cashing in either. So just a straight up L on that matchup. Nothing coming back in. So that's minus 2 units on that one. So puts a dent, of course, in our huge profit from before. But we were still, it was like 1.5 units or so up. So we were still in the green at that point, even after a straight up loss, which brings us into the next one, which was another rough one for us. And this actually, I think, was kind of a mistake. Tabitha Ricci, Jillian Robertson. My pick on Tapology was Tabitha Ricci, so I got it right on Tapology. But yeah, it was close, so maybe I don't fully regret the pick, but what I thought was going to happen for my Tapology pick is exactly what happened. I justified it there thinking, I think Ricci has the best chance of winning because she's just better positionally. She likes being on top. She knows that that's where you win fights, and that's actually exactly what she did. She ended up being on top, just controlling the narrative. That's really all it was. And the striking too, which I knew was going to be a problem too, because Jillian is not a striker at all. Ricci is better at striking. I wouldn't say she's really a striker either, but I knew she was better on the feet than Robertson. So I don't know. I think that was maybe a missed opportunity that I could have maybe put Ricci instead of Robertson on that one. I'm not sure if that's really a huge mistake. But, that was an L, and then I put money on the under. Um, just didn't really, let's see here. Yeah, just didn't really, I don't think that was even really close either. I actually wrote here Robertson looked kind of flat and Ricci was just being more active, to be honest. And I actually still stand by that. That gives me kind of an idea, more of an idea of what happened in there because you kind of forget after because this was days ago. There's a lot of fights. I do also a lot of other fighting bets, PFL, Bellator, all these other ones too. So it's hard to remember what happens in all these fights days later. Robertson did look flat though. I do remember that. So I don't really know. Like I said, I'm not even sure if I regret it actually now that I'm still thinking about it because she just didn't look herself. That's not how she usually fights. And I think actually her corner, Dean Thomas, the great Dean Thomas, he was saying that too, that she's not really fighting the way that she normally does. He pointed it out. I noticed it too. Yeah, it was weird now that I'm thinking about it. So maybe I don't really regret the pick so much as she just didn't look quite all there. And that was kind of like the Brundage thing too. I mean, obviously the Brundage one was much worse. But yeah, it was a bit weird because I usually when you see Jillian Robertson, she's like there. She's like relentless, going for the action, going for takedowns, finishes, just damage in general. And I just didn't really see that this time. She didn't have that fire. I don't know what it was. And Dean Thomas pointed it out too. Now that I'm looking back on it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. He said that too. Yeah, and Ricci was just being more active. That's really all it was, especially on the feet. That's really all it was. So again, not really sure if I completely regret picking the underdog in that one, but I can't say I'm really all that surprised. So I don't know. Either way, maybe I'm just, that's one of those hindsight things where it's like, yeah, I probably should have just gone with Ricci, which was my pick on Tapology. Maybe I should have just done that. I don't know. Just a hindsight thing. I don't know. And again, maybe I'm just salty that we went down another 2 units, which brings us in the red after all that. So we were like half a unit down, not quite a whole unit down after two complete losses in a row. Brutal. And then we headed into another. I don't know if I would say I was slightly surprised by this. I was a little surprised, I guess. It was Loic Rajabov and Mateusz Rambecki. You know, I don't know. That was not the Rajabov that I saw before. And I think he might have actually been injured because he definitely did not seem all there after a while. And I even wrote down here, Loic just never got anything going. And I think that's really what it was. He just never got started, to be honest. Rambecki just kind of walked away with it. It was just all Mateusz Rambecki, and Loic never really had any moments. It was kind of another weird one where it's like, oh, this is strange. That's not how he normally fights. This actually was more similar to the Robertson one, where it was like, oh, okay, this is disappointing. This is not how they normally fight. So yeah, another weird one, I would say. So I did end up going with Rajabov, which was plus 120. Obviously, he lost. And I went with the under on that one, which I thought was crazy that was plus money because they both get a lot of finishes. So I thought that was an absurd betting line. I'm glad I took advantage of that. So under 2.5, that was plus 140. So we did make profit, a little bit of profit back on that one. That's 2.4 units back. So that puts us zero point 0.4 up on that matchup. So we got some money back there. Uh, I said I was one down, but I think I might have done the math a little bit wrong. I think I was actually pretty close to being even at that point. I mean, either way, the math at the end works out because Excel does the math for me. So I know that's right. Um, I'm just doing the quick math as I go. So yeah, it says I'm one down. I think I was more like maybe half a unit down, if at all. So yeah, but we did get a little bit back with that one. So that was good. Then it was Brown and Turman. I'm glad I bet it the way I did because there was a distinct chance of this happening, and I knew that. I put Brown finish, which was actually plus 110. So I think it was actually below that minus 200 mark. So I probably could have put straight up money on Brown. I did not. I put Brown finish. So that did not cash in, obviously. Well, actually, not obviously if you didn't watch it. It was really actually not a little slow. It was very slow. It was one of those fights that's a little bit painful to watch, to be honest. It was slow. Nothing really from either guy. I wrote that down here. Brown was just being slightly more active, landed slightly better. I wasn't really impressed by either one of them, really. But Brown was the pretty clear winner. And I'm glad that the judges saw that because, again, I was worried. I was worried about the judges, especially on this one, because I knew how close it was. Like just watching it, it's like, oh man, it's one of these where nothing's really happening. So it's kind of all up to the judges. And when you see what happens earlier in the card and then it gets to one of these, it's like, uh oh, uh oh, could have a problem here. And again, didn't matter in terms of those two bets, but it did matter in terms of the parlays because, as I mentioned, Randy Brown was one of those people in the parlay. He was at D. So it did matter. I mean, if he lost, that would have been the last parlay gone. I mean, we would have been 0 for 3 on the parlays at that point. 0 for 3 on the picks on the parlays, I should say. So yeah, that would have been dead right there had they given it to Turman, but they gave it to Brown, thankfully, which is exactly how it should have been because it was pretty clear for sure. And I put money on the over. So like I said, I'm glad I bet it like that at least. Maybe I should have put it straight up on Brown. Again, I can't remember what the betting line was at that point. It's those tiny mistakes that I'm making. I'm not necessarily making huge mistakes here and there. I mean, I am here and there. No, I'm not making huge mistakes often. It's really the tiny mistakes, like putting down Brown instead of Brown finish. And I've done that before too, where I've put down this person's going to get a finish. They don't. I could have cashed in, on 2 of the bets. I only cash in on 1. So those are just the tiny mistakes here and there. Anyway, so that did cash in. That was 2.1 units because it was at plus 110, the over 2.5. So that's zero point 0.1 units back. Obviously, not a huge win, but it is still profit on that matchup. So we're still making money. The next one after that, that was Neil Magny and Phil Rowe. This one was, I gotta say, was definitely a little more surprising. I wasn't expecting mirror images to be fighting each other. I mean, they looked exactly the same. Like body, they have the same body type. They actually had very similar hair. It was strange to watch. And they were doing the exact same strategy, the exact same everything. It was weird to watch and honestly a little bit hard to watch because it was actually hard to tell who was who when they were along the fence at some point. So I was like, oh man, this is actually really hard. And now that I'm thinking about it, as a judge, that would be way harder because they're doing the same things. They look the same. Everything about them is exactly the same right now, except for the color of their shorts. So yeah, I think we actually got a little bit lucky that they made the right decision here, which was Neil Magny. And I'm glad that I bet it the way that I did because I went Magny decision, which was plus 105. So I'm glad I did that. I originally did that though, because I thought, okay, if anybody gets an under, it's going to be Rowe because Rowe fights more like that. He didn't fight like that this time at all. So the under was never going to cash in. Lots of clinching. One of the slowest fights I've seen in a while. Definitely the slowest of the night, and that was saying something considering the fight before that was also pretty slow. So yeah, the under definitely did not cash in, but we cashed in Magny by decision. That was plus money, plus 105. So that's 205 back. That's 0.05 units up. So that is more in the green. Like I said, we got the green back again. Like I said, when I'm saying these, like, oh, we took a loss here, we took a loss there, we took a loss there. Like, yeah, I lose a lot with these bets, but as long as I win one per matchup, we're in the green almost every single time. And then when you double the wins, that's just pure profit on top of it. That's why I like this strategy so much. But it only works when I make the bets properly, when I properly make those bets. And again, I'm still making some slight mistakes here and there, but this was definitely, well, clearly it was my best card because I still made mistakes and I actually still made profit. And by the way, isn't that impressive that I still made profit even though almost all of my parlays died within the first few fights? That is never a good sign, but somehow I still made it. Anyway, just a slight pat on the back there. Um, yeah. So Magny decision pretty clearly won that. I was a little worried because it was so close and there was so much clinching. I was a little worried that he was not going to get the decision again, especially because of those judges. Wasn't sure, but thankfully we got it. And we move on to the main card now. And this is where I was like, yes, yes, completely nailed every single part of it. Got the sniper pick, got both of the bets, got the parlay. I mean, actually, the parlay didn't cash in until later with Topuria, but I was so excited. This had me hyped. Brendan Allen, Bruno Silva. I had Allen finish because he was above that minus 200, so I had to do something. But I was so confident that he was going to finish Bruno Silva that I had to double up on it. Not only did I go Allen finish, which was minus 120, which I think actually was a little bit high, but we still cashed it in minus 120. So that was 1.83 units back. So that was already fantastic. I also put under 1.5, not under 2.5. I put under 1.5 because that was plus money. And I knew Brendan Allen was going to come out like an animal, and he did. Under 1.5, that cashes in. That was plus 120. That's 2.2 units back. So that's 1.2 units of profit for that bet, 0.83 units of profit for the other one. That adds up to 2 units of profit on that matchup alone. That brings us into the green. I was 1.5 units up at that point, if my math was correct, which I think at that point it was. So yeah, 1.5 units up. Plus, if you counted the sniper pick, that was minus 188. That was what Allen was at. So minus 188. I put 4 units down on that because I was so confident on Allen. That's the sniper pick magic. Up to over 2 units, I should say, on that. So I put, like I said, 4 units down. It was at minus 188. I got back 6.13. That is a 2.13 unit profit on Allen winning. So you add that in, that's 2.13 for just Allen winning. Then you got the finish. So that's 0.83, I said. So that brings us up to 3 units profit. Then you got 1.62 unit up on the under. That is 4.5 units profit on that one matchup. Absolutely nailed it. That is why I do the sniper picks. Exactly for reasons like that. Nailed it. So if you disregard the sniper pick parlay, I mean not the parlay. If you disregard the sniper pick, that would be 1.5 units up. But if you include that the sniper pick in there, we were 3.5 units up, which amazing. Like finally we're getting something going here. And with, only 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, with only 4 fights left in the night, I was pretty stoked. I mean, to have almost 4 units up, amazing. That's what I've been hoping for this entire time. And that's what I did have, by the way, before I started doing it on here. I had a few weeks of UFC where I was using the system and had profit like that each time. It's nice to see that it's actually working out on camera here. Finally, my goodness. But anyway, so that was the best matchup for sure. And of course, the A side, Allen, the A pick, I should say, in the parlay, that cashes in. The sniper pick, Allen just saved the night, honestly. Actually, just made the night. Didn't save it. Well, actually, did save it because if he would have lost, I would have been screwed. But that's the nature of the sniper pick. Anyway, what was I saying? After that, it was David Onama and Santos. And I got to say, this one surprised me. And I think this is where I made the mistake. This is where I made a mistake because normally, if I don't have somebody in the parlays, that means that they're not huge favorites, and I bet the underdog. I bet the underdog almost every single time if they're not in the parlay. And I didn't have him in the parlay, which should have clued me into the fact that I'm not really 100% sure if Santos is going to win or not, which means I should be betting the underdog. And I think that's where the mistake came in there. And maybe I just bet it wrong. Like maybe I should have bet the under because Onama could have been live for a finish, which he clearly was because he got one. So maybe I should have bet the under and then put money on Santos decision instead of Santos finish, balanced it out more that way. I could have put just Onama straight up on the dog and then gone over or under there. But yeah, just kind of just whiffed on every single part of that. I mean, I bet Santos finish. He lost. I bet the over. It was under. Just a complete whiff all around there. And I feel like there were ways to avoid that. So that is where it was a pretty clear mistake on my part. So my bad on that one. So yeah, we should have been up a little bit more after that. But I guess that makes up for Jenkins winning earlier when he shouldn't have won. So I guess really the universe balanced it out somehow. But yeah, Onama, I will say though, by the way, Onama was clearly losing before that. Like he was getting dominated before that. And it was kind of out of nowhere. Honestly, what I think happened is Santos was getting so confident that he was winning because he was clearly winning. And he was headed towards either a finish or a dominant decision. Like he was clearly winning. And then I think he just got too confident, didn't really respect Onama's power, and then got caught, and that was it. Like, truly, I honestly think that's exactly what happened. He just didn't take him seriously because you could even kinda tell when the decision was being read out that, oh, Onama, got the knockout. You could kinda see, like, Santos was like, "Ah, yeah, okay, whatever." He's kinda like, "Ah, okay." Like, it was kinda like, "Ah, he got me," you know? I was winning, got careless, he got me, like, "Ah, good for you, whatever." That was kind of his attitude. You could kinda tell that's what he was thinking, because that's what I was thinking too. It was kinda like, "Ah, well, that you got lucky a little bit lucky there, Onama, because he kinda wasn't paying attention anymore, and you can't do that. Cannot do that." So, you know, I probably bet it a little bit wrong, but also if Santos doesn't, if he just keeps up that focus and doesn't make stupid mistakes like that, which he shouldn't have, because that it really isn't who he is. He doesn't make stupid mistakes, which is why I think he was kind of like, okay, whatever. Like, I don't normally make mistakes like that. So you got me this time. That's kind of what it was. You know, so bet it wrong, but also pretty unlucky. So that was -2. That put us down another 2, which meant that we were technically half a unit down if you don't include the sniper pick, but if you include the sniper pick, yes, we were still up. Then it was a terrible outcome. That was Justin Taffa and Austin Lane. Probably, I don't know if it was the worst eye poke I've ever seen, because I've seen some real bad ones, but I gotta say that was in contention for one of the worst eye pokes I've ever seen, ever, in any promotion. I've ever, like, I've seen a lot of stuff like that, and that was definitely one of the worst I've ever seen. I mean, his eye was straight up. There were just like drips, like he wasn't crying, so you can't say it was tears, but like tears of blood coming out of his eyes. It was like, oh shit, like that's bad. Like that's really bad, to the point where it's like, is he going to be able to see after this? Like, is he going to actually lose an eye here? Because that can happen when stuff like that happens. That's how bad it was. So, yeah, that was rough. And that was literally 30 seconds into the fight. So, nothing happened there. Just we got all our money back. It was just a wash. And I think we were kind of headed towards cashing one of those in anyway. So, little bit upset that it's like, we didn't get any profit on there when it was looking good. I ended up putting down, because just for the sake of saying what the bets were, I had Justin Taffa in the first round. That was at plus 150. I liked that. And then I put money on the underdog, to be honest, because Taffa's not good after the first round. So I would have liked to see that play out, because then I could have looked smarter if Lane cashes in the second or third round or decision, and then, or if Tafa gets it in one. That would have been obviously both a plus money. So I'm pretty confident one of those would have cashed in, and it looked like we were going to be getting that just based on what I saw of the 20 seconds before that. But yeah, whatever. It's just a wash. It's like it never even happened. So that's okay. Then we had the co-main. Originally I thought, wow, this is a weird choice for a co-main, but I gotta say, it delivered. It really did. I thoroughly enjoyed this fight. It was one of the best women's fights I've seen all year. Amanda Hebos, Macy Barber, and what did I tell you? What did I tell you, folks? Put money on Macy Barber. And that's exactly what I did. I put money on Macy Barber, and man, did she cash in. I gotta say, even aside, because I was kind of doing it because I knew this was probably going to a decision, and I knew, like, okay, she has a history of winning these weird decisions. Hebos has a tendency to lose these weird decisions. Also, but I don't know if I actually mentioned this or not. Maybe because I hadn't watched the tape at the time, but I actually felt even more confident about Macy Barber, to the point where she was actually my Tapology pick. I ended up winning with Macy Barber on Tapology as well, because to be honest, when I actually watched the tape, I was like, "Huh, Barber's actually bigger, and she kind of actually fits this matchup perfectly. Like this really favors her actually when I thought about it a bit more because of the size, but also because of the striking, because of the aggressiveness as well, the aggression as well, because Kibas isn't really a huge striker. Like she's great on the ground and she can compete on the feet for sure. But we saw even against Chukagian, I mean, she was winning in the grappling part of it, but definitely not the striking part of it. And Barber is pretty much impossible to take down because who has been trying to take her down? Like Miranda Maverick had a hard time taking her down. And I'm sorry, but Maverick is way bigger and way better at grappling than Amanda Hebos. So that was already kind of the dead giveaway that this was going to be going in Barber's favor. So I probably should have, I mean, didn't do the research in time last week to say that, but I'm glad I did mention to pick Barber anyway. And yeah, that cashed in easily. Um, oh, and then yeah, just the finish in general too. I even thought to myself, I was like, I actually think Barber could pretty easily get a finish as well because of the damage. She does so much damage. She's always looking for finishes, and Hebos has been finished. She gets hit a lot. So it really actually did kind of set it up to the point where I was like, I actually think we could pretty easily cash in on both of these. So, which is why I was getting excited going into this one because I was like, "Ooh, I think I could be right about this. I think Macy Barber could get a finish here." And she did. She did. So we cashed in another double bet here, another huge one for us. 2.62. Oh yeah, 100 blah, 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 plus 162 on Barber. So that cashes in. That's 2.62. So 1.62 units up on that one bet. Then I bet on the under, and it's the exact same odds, plus 162 as well. So double 162s there. Cash in on both of them. That's that'd be 3.24 units up just on that one matchup again. So that's the third one on the night that I cashed in both. And that is where I make the money, which I think I honestly I kind of missed out on for a couple of weeks there because I was betting too many on just not really hedging the bets, but hedging it a little bit with the, betting on a finish for like I did like earlier because I still did that on some of them and it does work out for some of them. But if you know that there's a really good chance that you can cash in on both of them, do that. And that's what I kind of keep forgetting here. That I might not be making the wrong choices with betting. It's just there could be slightly different ways of betting that brings more consistent larger profit. And I think that's what I was kind of maybe forgetting for a couple weeks there. So hopefully I can kind of hang on to that and bring that into this week. I'm actually I feel really good about this week. I'm not going to lie. But anyway, so back to that. So definitely way in the green at this point for sure. We're looking fantastic, feeling amazing. That the double cash is in there. Oh man, I was ecstatic after that. I was like, yes, Macy Barber gets the finish. Oh man, I was stoked. Love it. Love it. And I mean, I got to say, I said this last time. I do kind of like Barber a little bit. So I was excited for that. But I also actually like Amanda Hebos more than Barber. So that was kind of depressing a little bit. But, you know, little bit of a fan of Barber, a little bit. So that was also kind of nice to see. And it's nice to see that she's actually turning it around because honestly, the only reason I stopped liking Barber for a while is because she was winning these garbage split decisions. I actually think, like I said, I said this last time. I mean, yes, I think she's cute, but she's also decent. She's a decent person too. So yeah, anyway, as long as she doesn't start winning these garbage split decisions again, we're cool. I'm a fan. So I was a fan of this for sure. Loved it. Then we had the last fight of the night. That is, of course, Josh Emmett, Ilya Topuria. And this is where I probably bet it wrong again. Actually, no, I know I bet it wrong again because I don't regret putting the money on Topuria because I put because the odds on Topuria were so out of control that I couldn't even put a finish down because Topuria finish, I believe, was like minus 250 or something like that, which is insane. Looking back, I even knew it was insane at the time too. So instead of that, I put it on Topuria sub because I thought, okay, Topuria, he's smart enough to realize that he's got, yeah, he can compete on the feet pretty clearly. But I thought, okay, if he's smart, he's going to take Emmett down and submit him because that's what Yair did, which I maintain, by the way, he could have easily done. And I'm actually a little confused now that I'm thinking about it as to why he didn't do that. Because, like, you'd rather spend 5 rounds beating the shit out of him on the feet when you could have just submitted him. It does seem weird now that I think about it a little bit more that he could have just gone for some grappling and easily submitted him eventually. I mean, he may not have gotten it in the first round or the second, but with that kind of grappling pace, I mean, and with how good Topuria is, I think he easily could have gotten a submission in the second or the third round. So it was a little weird that he didn't end up doing that, but still, either way, didn't get a finish anyway. So it wouldn't have cashed in anyway, clearly, but would have thought that would have been the strategy. Anyway, so I put money on Topuria sub. That was plus 150. Didn't cash in. And where I messed up, and this was a sincere mistake, I put money on the under 1.5. That was at plus 100 because I thought, okay, well, he's clearly way better than Emmett. He should get an early finish. But that really, honestly, when I think about it now, and this is where the mistake came in, I should have balanced it out. This was one where you actually could have balanced it out pretty easily by putting over 3.5 or something, over 3.5, over 4.5, something like that. Even over 2.5 was probably making you money because that's how out of control these odds were, was that they were heavily favoring those unders. So if I feel like probably the over 3.5, I think was probably the better choice. So we could have still gotten a late submission, fourth round, fifth round. That could have still cashed in. And we would have cashed it in at plus money with the over 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, whatever it would have been. So I think that would have been the best way to do that. Instead, we go 0 for 2 on that, even though I picked Topuria. So I think that was just poorly bet. That was a mistake. So, like I said, we're still not flawless on our betting strategy. There's still just a couple of bets here and there each time that I'm making a mistake. But overall, we're definitely getting there and we're getting closer to the profit. Like I said, I mean, the fact that I still made profit even losing almost all the parlays, that says quite a bit about how we're progressing here. So yeah, we'll get into the numbers. Actually, I'll get into the bonuses first. Like I said, I mean, come on, fight of the night should have been locked up easily right away. Trevor Peak, Chepi Mariscal. So that was my fight of the night, and that's an obvious fight of the night. I cannot believe the UFC went in the other direction with it. KO had to be Onama. That was absolutely out of nowhere. Did not see that one coming at all. Submission. There was only one submission, but he was going to get it anyway, probably. Brendan Allen, of course. And then most valuable fighter had to be Topuria. I mean, who looked better? Truly. Who looked better than Ilia Topuria? One of the only 10-7. You do not see 10-7s, especially in the UFC. I don't think I've ever seen a 10-7. I've seen obviously quite a few 10-8s, and those are rarely given out. But a 10-7, wow. That's crazy. Crazy. A 10-7. So just the fact alone that he absolutely never even really got hit. I mean, he made him look, I wouldn't say bad, but he definitely did not look on the same level at all. He was just like, Emmett is really tough. That is the only thing you could say about that. So yeah, had to be Topuria. I mean, nobody looked better. Maybe Macy Barber, but I mean, I'm not going to give her most valuable fighter bonus for that. But no, Topuria earned it for sure. And title shot. I even said, actually, I'm pretty sure I even said this going in. I may have said it going into it. Either that or I was thinking it myself as I was watching it. I was kind of like, this is a pretty obvious next title shot for sure. I mean, literally, who else? Like, genuinely, I cannot think of another single person at featherweight who even looks like a remote title contender at all. Like, genuinely, I cannot think of one. Allen lost to Holloway. Holloway, we're not doing that again yet. There's just no point. Um, and that's it. Like, that's literally it. So then it's literally just Topuria. So, I mean, who else are you going to be giving that title shot to? I don't know. So obviously he's getting the title shot. There is no question about that. They would be stupid not to give Topuria a title shot after that. And I'm here for it. I want him to get the title shot for sure. I wasn't sure about him before getting a title shot after the Mitchell one, even. Actually, to be honest, after the Mitchell one, I was like, that's where I figured out he is definitely the real deal for sure. But even after that, I was like, I don't think he really should be getting a title shot anytime soon because there's still Allen. There were still quite a few people at that point. But now there's nobody else. It's just Topuria. Give him the title shot for sure. No question. He is getting the next title shot after after Volk wins this fight. Because let's be honest, I don't really think Yair is gonna win that. I just don't see it. But we'll see. It's a couple weeks away. Can't wait to watch that. Cannot wait for that card. That is a insane card. Cannot wait. Oh yeah, anyway, so those were the bonuses. Now we will go to the parlays. So as I said before, as I said it last week, I guess would have been the last time I said this. A was Allen, B Zhumagulov, C Topuria, D Brown, E Magny, and F was Brundage. So obviously Zhumagulov, Brundage lost. I thought maybe I unplugged something by accident there. So yeah, that was B and F losing. That was Zhumagulov and Brundage. So that knocked out all of the parlays except for the Grand Slam. So we actually hit the Grand Slam. That would be A, C, D, E. That was Allen, Topuria, Brown, Magny. That was at plus 333. Plus 333. So that brings us with half a unit put down. That's what we do on the parlays, except for the triple play parlay, which was the ABC one, which we lost. That's 1 unit all the time. These are all half a unit, the other ones. So half a unit brings you back 2.16 units, which definitely brought us back. Actually, if you really think about it, that was what put us over the edge into the green, was that one parlay cashing in, because in the end, we walked away with 1.88 units in the green. That would be technically all because of the money we barely recouped from the parlays. So we still lost money on the parlays overall. That ended up being minus 1.34. But yeah, the 2.16 units that we won. Yeah, 2.16 that we won in that by the Grand Slam, that brought us back up into the green, actually. So that saved us. But the upper half, which is really the portion that we should all be paying attention to and trying to win the most, is that upper half, what I call it anyway. That's because on my Excel sheet, that's the upper half. I just call it that. I don't know. That was 3.22 units up. So we killed it up there, even though, again, made a lot of mistakes. Still nailed it, though. I mean, still killed it for sure. 3.22 units up above there. Amazing. It was just the parlays that let us down a little bit. Because, again, Zhumagulov was in B. He should have been at D. And I actually did the math. I would have won one more. So it was the BCE one. So we would have won the BCE parlay, which would have been, that was plus 203, half a unit. That would have been what, like 1.5 units back. So we would have been actually in the green on parlays there had I made that switch, which is what it should have been at. So again, tiny mistake there. What can you do? Still, like I said, in the green. It's all we can ask for. It's the first week out of the 3, because I've only done this 3 times now with you guys anyway. 1.8 units up. We're in the green for the first time. That's what you want to see. And like I said, I feel very, very good about this week. I'm not going to lie. I feel very confident going into this week because there are so many fights where the outcome honestly just seems so obvious that it's like there is no way that this person's going to lose. So I actually feel very confident, not just about the picks, but actually just the parlays in general, because I'm so confident that these people are going to win. Yeah, and then I even feel good about a couple of underdogs. So yeah, I feel really good about this card. That's UFC Vegas 76, and we will be talking about that right after this short break. I'll see you after this.
Allow me to introduce High Stick Vodka, a new way to celebrate victory. Gather around the glass with an award-winning, ultra-premium Canadian-made vodka. You probably won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka has a smooth, hard-hitting taste, or that it's developed in the birthplace of hockey. You won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka is a tribute to the game of hockey, or when I tell you it's distilled 4 times using Canada's purest mountain spring water to provide an authentic, remarkable flavor. But maybe you will listen when I say it comes in a fucking hockey stick. Showcase your passion for hockey with our limited edition hand-blown hockey stick bottle. Whether you're celebrating victory or drinking to defeat, High Stick Vodka is better after every shot. Visit us at highstickvodka.com. It also comes in this regular bottle. Celebrate victory. Drink responsibly.
And we are back. Okay. Amazing card. By the way, this card actually is, I like it. I like it. I mean, is the main event really all that amazing? No, but there are so many elite talents on this card. I mean, you got Guram, you got Alexander Romanov, you got Brito, you got who else here? Well, Kevin Lee's back. That's exciting. Ruzabayev looks like a fucking animal. Cannot wait to watch him. Bonfim, you got back. You got Michael Morales is back. That's amazing. Damir Ismagulov comes out of retirement. Amazing. I mean, like truly the elite talent, and the talent in this card is absolutely unreal. It's just that people, the casual fans, may not realize who these people are, which is, I think, being reflected quite a bit in the betting lines, because a couple of these lines, I'm like, I don't even understand how I got them this low. By the way, I've already made some of my bets because I saw that they were so low. And this is what happens when I get to do my research a little bit earlier and I get to look at the odds and stuff earlier. I can actually make some of my bets already. So I can already tell you what some of these bets are going to be and what they are actually already, because I've already made them and what the odds were when I picked them, I should say. So we'll get it right into it. So that opens with Guram Kutateladze and Elvis Brenner. I mean, I'm not going to say this is a massacre because there are definitely some fights on this card that are like truly concerned for the safety of one of the fighters. Like that is how bad a couple of these mismatches really are. And we'll get into those in a second. This one is more so a mismatch in terms of just skill. I don't think Brenner is going to get I don't think he's going to get like quickly knocked out or anything like that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I mean, Brenner, if you don't remember, his only UFC fight actually was against, I had to remember the name, Zuba, as we call him, Tukugov. It was a split decision win for Brenner, which is a little bit silly because if you watch the fight, I think Zuba clearly won the fight. I actually thought he won all 3 rounds. I even just watched it like 2 days ago, and I still think he pretty clearly won the fight. So a bit of a criminal split decision win for Brenner, but that just goes to show that he's not going to win this fight because he definitely did not beat Zuba, and Zuba didn't even look that great when he was fighting. I mean, he completely switched his strategy. So weird. And then Guram is just an absolute fucking animal. I mean, he beat Gamrot by split decision, and then he lost. No, he didn't lose. Let me see here. I got to click on it just so I get this right. Oh, the Wi-Fi is killing me today. Oh boy. He did lose. It was a split decision loss to Damir Ismagulov, who is going to be fighting on this card as well, which is why I'm shocked that that one is as close as it is. You'll be absolutely blown away by the odds when I tell you about the Ismagulov fight. But yeah, so I mean, this guy is absolutely sensational. And by the way, I actually thought Guram won that fight against Damir, to be honest. So yeah, he is insanely good. And he right now is at minus 650. I mean, obviously, we're not doing that straight up. That is well over that minus 200 cap that I put on everything. So we've got to get a little bit interesting on those on picks like that. Right now, the way well, you know what? We'll look at the over under first because that'll kind of lead into how I bet it. The over under is 2.5, and it is at minus 118 for over 2.5, minus 109 for under 2.5. I gotta say, I think the clear way of betting this as it stands would be to bet on the under. You got to bet on the under minus 109 because I think, well, we'll see how it turns out, because usually, again, betting lines tend to get more extreme as the week goes on. So I think it'll probably end up being plus money, the under. We'll see. It might not be. And it could vary on sites, so we don't really know. But yeah, I'd probably balance it out that way and then put Guram decision, I guess, to bring those odds down, because yeah, these are weird. This is strange for sure. But at minus 650, because we got to lower them somehow. Although, like I said, you want to maybe cash in both of them. So, but then of course, yeah, this is a tough one. Like I said, this is tough. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to be doing for Guram to lower those odds, but I've got to lower them some way. Maybe a knockout, maybe KO, just to lower the odds substantially. But again, we don't have those odds right now, so I can't really tell you what I'm going to be doing with that because I just don't know what the odds are going to be. And the picks are based on the odds, so I truly cannot tell you what I'm going to be doing there. But I will probably be going with the under 2.5, minus 109. I like that. Yeah. So that's the first one. Exciting fight though, because Brenner really does bring it for sure. So I'm excited to watch it either way. I don't think it's going to be the opening fight on the prelims. I'd be a little surprised if it was, but who knows? I don't know. They've been kind of fucking around with the lineup of things. I don't really like what they're doing, because like people don't really realize that the UFC is doing that. So because people don't know these names, they don't know, oh, the first prelim of the night is going to be an absolute banger. They just assume, because this is what's done in the past, they just assume it's not going to be good. So they don't start watching until a couple of fights before the main card. They just don't know. So, like putting one of the best fights of the night in the first slot, it just doesn't make any sense because people don't know these people. People don't know they're going to be good. So it's just a bad strategy all around. I don't like that they're doing that. So yeah, anyway, next fight though, Alexander Romanov, Blagoy Ivanov. The odds are actually still very close with this. I can't say that I'm too surprised because of the cardio issues that we've seen from Romanov and the losses that we just saw. I mean, like he had a draw against Tybura. I think that was a little absurd because he pretty clearly won. He should have gotten a 10-8 in the first round, which would have meant then that it should have been a win. But whatever. I mean, he was doing so bad in the third and even the second rounds that it's like I can't even really be that mad about a draw, even though I don't think I lost money because it was a draw, because then you would just get money back. But I was still kind of like I was robbed from some profit there because it seemed pretty clear that he won. Anyway, that's the last card. This one though, Blagoy, I mean, he just hasn't really shown a whole lot. He's good on the feet, but he was taken down pretty easily in his last fight against Tybura, of all people, who is Romanov just fought him, and Tybura kind of dominated him. So it's kind of like, why would you think that Ivanov is going to beat Romanov when Romanov just beat Tybura? I mean, it was a draw, but he kind of won. And he could have actually finished him in the first round. So it's like, why would you think that? It just seems kind of bizarre that even the line's that close. And I guess it's because of Volkov finishing him so quick. But again, I don't see how that's relevant. Like, Volkov is a full, like, literally over a foot taller than Ivanov, and he's a completely different style. So I don't see how that's relevant at all. I don't think that would factor in at all. So it seems weird of a betting line. Yeah. And like I said, Ivanov was easily taken down by Tybura, and Romanov is a way better of a grappler than Tybura is. So I think Ivanov's going to be in huge shit right away with the takedowns and the slams and the submission attempts. I truly don't know if Romanov is going to be able to get a finish. Maybe Ivanov, stops the submission attempts, but I find it hard to believe that Ivanov will be able to shut down the takedowns for more than two of those rounds, more than one of those rounds, I should say. So he might be able to stop it in the third round if it gets that far. But in the first round, no, he's getting thrown all over the cage. That's exactly what's going to happen. So I find it a little bit silly that the betting line is this close right now. It's minus 138 for Romanov, plus 112 for Ivanov. I mean, the clear choice is clearly Romanov. By the way, he's almost a decade younger. To actually, no. Oh, that's right. No, it's actually closer than I thought. It's like 5 or 6 years difference, something like that. So it's not crazy difference, but it's still like, there's just nothing going in towards Ivanov's favor except for his cardio. But when you're getting thrown around for 2 rounds straight, the first 2 rounds, I don't think that's relevant. So minus 125, that's what I ended up getting him at. I put my bet in on Monday. Alexander Romanov minus 125, locked it in. I got him at minus 125. I'm stoked about that because I actually would not be surprised if it ballooned out of control to minus 200 or more, because people are going to realize, oh, this guy who was undefeated 2 fights ago is minus 138 against this old dude that doesn't, the styles don't match up. He lost to Tybura, who Romanov had to, draw with. Like, put some money on that. Like, yeah. So minus 125 is what I got it at. Super stoked about that. And what is the over under at right now? Oh, okay. Over 1.5 minus 200. You got to go with the under because of what I said about the style. Romanov has multiple first round finishes. Ivanov cannot stop takedowns like that. That's a recipe for disaster. So, I mean, he's probably going to have like 4.5 minutes in the first round on top. Like, I mean, you got to think at some point he's going to ground and pound him, get a submission, something. These are heavyweights. If you're on the bottom on a heavyweight like this guy, you're probably going to lose pretty quickly. So I'm actually going to go the under 1.5 if it's a plus money like that. I'm doing that all day. And I'll actually write that in here in my notes just so I know that that's definitely what I got to do. Excuse me. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Then we got the biggest mismatch of the night, and this really is an absolute massacre. I cannot believe that this is even a fight that's happening. Joanderson Brito against Weston Wilson, who's making his debut. And not only is this one of those weird debut ones again, this is actually way more of a one-sided one than all of the other ones we've seen. Because the other ones, it's like, okay, like they're clearly going to lose. Like the Sarukian one, the Iavloyev one. There was another one too that we saw. Oh, actually, no. So it wasn't Sarukian. Never mind. But it was Iavloyev. He did have that. But no, there was somebody else too that had a really weird one for the debut. This is another one. I mean, it's just silly. I was vamping while I was getting over to the Tapology page here for Wilson. I mean, listen to this. I mean, he is 16-7, 16-7 right now. That's what Wilson's at. And not only is he at 7 losses, it's also he lost in X MMA, that's the name of the promotion, to somebody who was 11-9. He lost to somebody who was 11-9 in the first round. He's he's also been finished by somebody who is 8-4 in Fierce MMA. By the way, that was in 2021. The other finish that I said, that was in 2022. That's literally just last year, and he was finished by somebody who was 11-9. Now we go over to Joanderson Brito, who is one of the most aggressive and dangerous people in the UFC. Somebody who was actually doing really well against, oh, actually, no, never mind. I got the people mixed up here. But his only loss, at least in the UFC, is Bill Algeo. He destroyed Lucas Alexander, who was 7-2, annihilated Andre Fili in 40 seconds, and beat Diego Lopez on the Contender Series. And he also, by the way, has wins over Chepe Mariscal, who we just talked about. And he also has wins over Wellington Prado, a win over Wellington Prado. His only losses are back in 2015 before that Bill Algeo loss. So yeah, this guy is an absolute fucking animal. And he's going against somebody who lost to somebody who's 11-9. Good God. That is an absolute massacre waiting to happen. The odds reflect that as well. It is at minus 1,300. Minus 1,300 right now. And by the way, on the other site that I use, it is even higher than that. So yeah, there is no return on this whatsoever. So he is not the sniper pick. But also, when I made my sniper pick, the odds for him were not up yet. So I did make my sniper pick already, but I will get to that at the end when we talk about that kind of stuff with the parlays and the sniper picks and all that. So it's not going to be Brito, but Brito is in my A slot because he is the one person on this entire card where it's like, I don't even know how the other person could. I don't know how Weston Wilson could possibly win. Like, at least the other guys, it's like, maybe if there's a miracle lucky shot, he could win, you know, like the Guram one. Like if Elvis Brenner has some crazy moment and does something, or maybe just fights out of his shoes or something, you know, like there's a miracle world like where he could possibly win that. But this one, nah, not a chance. So yeah, he's the A slot, but he's not my sniper pick. Anyway, the over-under is more interesting. Oh, and how are we going to lower the odds on that? Honestly, I don't even know. I don't even know how you lower a minus 1,300. I'll figure that out again, probably on Friday, because that's usually when I do these, of course. It's probably going to be KO, I would assume. That's going to be minus money as well. So I don't know. First round, but even then it's like that's going to be minus money as well. I don't know. I'll find something. Maybe I'll just go first round Brito. I don't know. Got to lower it somehow though. And then the over under, they're heavily favoring the under 1.5 minus 240. I mean, do I go with the over just to balance it out? But I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I just really do not see this leaving the first round. I would actually be, this is one of those rare cases where I would genuinely be shocked if it got out of the first round. Because even last week, like with those ones, with the Dumas, Brundage, and the other ones and stuff like that, I put money on the over because I was like, I could see this happening. But in this one, it's like, I just don't even see it. I really do not see this happening at all. Because even on the wins of Weston Wilson, they're all in the first round. Now that I'm looking at it. Yeah, they're all in the first round. And all of his losses, almost, except for one, are in the first round. So I think this may actually be, like, for real this time. I will probably put something on under 1.5. I don't know. I got to do something to get money back on this. Because, yeah, I don't know. I got to do something. Anyway, so that I guess I can't really give too much insight as to what I'm going to do for the Brito fight, because it's just the odds are so out of control there that I'm going to have to get creative. So we'll see what I do about that one. Not really sure as of yet. Then we got the ladies. It is I think it's Ivana Petrovic and Luana Carolina. I think the records are fooling people quite a bit on this one because Petrovic is 6-0, and Carolina, of course, is not undefeated. But it gets really interesting when you actually start to look at it, which is what I love. I love to see these because this is where you can really make some real profit, is when somebody's undefeated, but their record is a little bit suspect. Like the fights that they're winning are a little bit suspect, and the fighter that they're coming against in the UFC maybe hasn't been doing as well as they normally would be. And this is one of those perfect scenarios, I think. Could I be wrong and have what's her name again? Petrovic win? Yes, of course. Of course she could win this very easily. But I gotta say, I don't think she's really as good as people think, probably because they haven't seen her. I did watch the tape, and I was not really that impressed. Petrovic was kind of getting dominated in her last fight, actually, by Evelina Wozniak, who was 7-1. Who is is not 7-1. She would be 7-2 now because she lost. She was kind of getting dominated, and not in the way that would be kind of helpful in this case. Like, because it's one thing to get dominated by somebody who's a good wrestler, but it's a whole other thing to be now making your UFC debut against somebody who's also very big and grappling heavy, and you kind of were dominated a little bit by that the first time. So I don't really like the way this matchup is going for the undefeated person. Plus, what does actually raise some eyebrows too is she won a split decision, over somebody who was 5-4, and that was in Aries FC. So that's kind of questionable. A split decision over somebody who was 5-4. That was just this year. I mean, almost all of her fights actually were last year. Sorry, we're all in 2022. So she just started in 2021. So I'm not really seeing her being a favorite. On the other side, Luana Carolina struggled a little bit, but she lost a split decision to Joanne Wood. And Joanne Wood was supposed to fight Valentina Shevchenko 2 years, I think it was 2 years ago. So, people can kind of say all they want, like, oh, Luana Carolina is not that good, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you do realize, like, she lost to Joanne Wood in a split. It wasn't even a unanimous decision. It was a split. And Joanne Wood was supposed to be contending for a title. And then her other loss was Molly McCann, who landed that spinning elbow. That was that viral spinning elbow knockout in London, where she then runs out of the cage, grabs the belt. Amazing, amazing. One of the best celebrations of all time. That was that. So that was that loss. And before that, she beat Lupi Godinez, which is pretty impressive. Beat Poliana Botelho, which is kind of impressive. And lost to Ariane Lipski before that by a knee bar in a minute and a half. So kind of just got caught off guard there. I remember watching that, actually. And then beat Priscilla Cajuera before that. I mean, like, she's got good wins, and she's having close fights with really good people. And then Petrovic won a split decision against somebody in Aries FC who's 5-4. Like, say all you want, undefeated record, whatever. Luana Carolina hasn't been as impressive recently, whatever. Like, if you look at even just on paper, I would not be betting against. You got to take a look at the underdog for sure in this case. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. Minus 225 is what Petrovic is at right now. Minus 225. I mean, really, that's just, again, a product of her being 6-0 and Carolina losing her last couple fights. But again, if you look at how they've been getting to their results and actually watch them fight, Carolina actually is a much better choice. So plus 180, that is a live underdog for sure. And I will definitely be putting money on Luana Carolina. And that's why I was saying before this that I actually think this card is very, very, it's great for us. It is set up perfectly for us. Because, like I said, I mean, so far, I think the results are pretty obvious. So Brito, I mean, clearly Romanov put the money on already, and I think he's looking pretty good. Guram, obvious choice, and I actually think, like I said, Carolina is a pretty live underdog, so that could be a good one to cash in as well. So, like I said, four pretty solid betting lines. So, if any, actually, no, I don't even know what I'm saying now. They're not solid betting lines because those other ones were a little weird. We had to really lower those Guram and Brito ones. But anyway, there's a lot of money to be made, is all I'm saying on this card. So I'm going Luana Carolina, and I will go with the under because almost, actually, I can't say almost all of Petrovic's wins have been by finish, and Carolina has been finished before. So if she is going to win, I could see her getting a finish, which means we're balancing it out on both ends of it. So we're going to pick the dog and we're going to be picking the under. And the over under is over 2.5 is minus 260. So heavily favoring that. And even though Petrovic has gotten a lot of finishes, the under is at plus 190. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Could we whiff and have Petrovic get a decision win? Yeah, I actually would not be completely surprised if that happened, obviously, but there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of profit on there because both of those are heavy, heavy unders. So if either one of those cashes in, that's not just amazing profit on this matchup. That is amazing profit just on the card. Like those are huge numbers. Plus 180, plus 190. And this is on a Wednesday. Imagine what that's going to be on a Friday when you make these bets, or even on a Saturday if you bet these super late. These could be ballooning out of control, like for realsies. So you could get a plus 200 in there pretty easily. So I'm loving the way this is turning out. Then we've got more ladies. We've got Carol Hosa and it says Santos, but I mean there's so many people named the same thing that I forget who it is now. Oh, of course, how could I forget it? If it said Kunitskaya, I would know. Yana Santos, formerly Yana Kunitskaya, against Carol Hosa. And I gotta say, I'm actually a little bit surprised by this betting line as well. Oh, actually, that's weird. Bet99 still has it as Kunitskaya. That is wrong. Bet99. Bet99 is always the worst for names, I feel like. They get a lot of shit wrong. They really need to tighten that shit up because that's not her name. That's just literally not her name anymore. She changed her name because she married Tiago Santos. So what are we doing? Like, why is it still Kunitskaya? Stupid. Fix it. Fix it, Bet99. Anyway, the odds. Carol Hosa minus 172. Kunitskaya plus 137. I actually think that is very surprising. Very, very surprising. I really, really do. I'm pretty surprised by the fact that that's the case. Because let's go through what Carol Hosa has done in her last 3 fights. Lost to Norma Dumont. Fair enough. Norma Dumont is very good, but got dominated. I mean, it was not even close. Like, not even remotely close in any way. Dumont out-grappled her, outstruck her, just dominated. It was not even close. So already, why are we picking why is she the favorite? Seriously, why is she the favorite when she's going against somebody who is a better striker than Dumont and also a heavy grappler? Like as she clinches hard against the fence. Why are we picking Carol Hosa? It just doesn't make any sense. And then before that, majority decision win, a majority decision, not a split, a majority decision win over Lena Landsberg. So already, again, what is impressive about that? Like a majority decision over somebody who is barely in the UFC, like not doing really well. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? I just don't understand. And then Sarah McMahon, who is a wrestler, so heavy grappler, loses that one as well, of course. And then on the other side, it's Kunitskaya/Santos. We'll just go with Santos because that is her name now. Um, Lost to Holly Holm. Like, okay, you lost to the second best, like the number one contender, the consensus. Well, she should be the consensus number one contender for like the last decade. Like, okay. And also in that fight, she was clinching, like out clinching Holm along the fence for quite a bit of it. Like, if you're doing that to Holly Holm, I'm pretty fucking sure you can do it to Carol Hosa. And then really the only reason Holm kind of started to walk away with it is because of the cardio for Holly Holm. And also she just positionally she just had the better positions, and she's obviously a better striker. But mostly won with the ground game. She ended up winning there. But yeah, it's just like, okay, like, yeah, she lost to Holly Holm. And before that, got knocked out by Irene Aldana, which is like, okay, like Aldana is a knockout artist, if you can call her that, in a women's division. Then there aren't that many of those, and she's one of them. She got knocked out in the first round. There you go. Like, okay, what's wrong about that? Like, those are the two losses. Like, okay. And before that, beat Ketlin Vieira, who beat Holly Holm. Like, she beat Ketlin Vieira. So, like, where are we seeing in this that Carol Hosa should have any kind of advantage? I just don't really understand where that narrative is coming from at all. And she's at minus 172 right now, Carol Hosa. I'm confused. Plus 137 for Kunitskaya or Santos. I'm reading, of course, from Bet99, which says Kunitskaya is still. Plus 137 for Santos. Like, I'm confused. I just don't see it at all. So I'm going the underdog for sure on that one, which is Santos. And like I said, and I mean, I'm not saying both of those underdogs are going to cash, Carolina and Santos, but they both have a pretty decent chance. So hopefully one of them cashes in, and then it makes up for one or the other. You know, I really do think that's pretty likely that at least one of those will win. I'd be a little surprised if Carolina and Santos both lost. I'd be a little surprised. As for the over under, I think we have to go under just because of the price. It's plus 233 for under 2.5. But do I see a finish happening? Like, I'm not really sure. I mean, Carol Hosa has almost exclusively decisions. Santos, let's see here. Santos has been finished 3 times, but it was by Aldana, Cyborg, and then it was finished by Aspen Ladd, which is interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I just have a hard time putting money on minus 325 for an over. Like, do I just ignore it and just not bet on it? I don't know, because then you miss out on if there's a finish plus 233. I think you have to just put a unit on plus 233 because that's a really high betting line, especially since anything can happen. You know, literally anything can happen. Like, we could see a ref make a stupid mistake, which we've seen already a couple of times in the last month. We could see, you know, somebody land something crazy like Aspen Ladd getting a finish. I mean, if Aspen Ladd gets a finish, or Carol Hosa can get a finish too. So, you know, it's plausible. It's plausible. But I'm gonna go with, yeah, I'm gonna go with the under. Anyway, yeah. So that's that one. Moving on. We've got Kevin Lee back in action against Renat Fakhretdinov, and weird choice to bring Kevin Lee back against him. I'm not really sure why they would have picked him. Maybe because it would be that much more impressive if Kevin Lee wins. But I gotta say, I'm not really convinced that Kevin Lee is going to win this. I know he's a grappler, but he actually struggled with the grappling in his last couple of fights. Well, actually, I don't know what happened in the Eagle FC one, to be honest. I did not watch that, and that's not on Fight Pass, so I was just like, eh. I've seen enough of Kevin Lee to know kind of what he's like. So I will quickly head over here. I'm trying to head over to the pages on Tapology here. But yeah, we'll go because I'm trying to forget. Oh yeah, right. It was the last fight in the UFC was against Daniel Rodriguez, D-Rod, and he was out grappled by D-Rod. So if you're a grappler and you're getting out grappled by who many people think is a pure striker, you've got a problem, especially when you're going against somebody who just got 14 minutes of control time against Brian Battle. Like, I don't really see how you're going to win this fight. I'm sorry. Like, you could land a bomb out of nowhere that just starches Fakhretdinov, just knocks him out immediately. Could he do that? Yes. Yes, he could. But if he doesn't do that, I truly don't know how he would even win this fight. He has no avenue to win this fight other than knocking him out because he doesn't have the cardio. He definitely doesn't have the grappling, doesn't have the submission game. So where's his avenue to win other than getting a KO? So Fakhretdinov is very clearly the right choice here. And considering he is at minus 209, we do need to lower that a little bit. So let's see what the over-under is at here. There it is. Bet99 also has them all over the place. They're not in the right order. So I'm looking all over the place here. Okay. Over-under is at 2.5. They're favoring the over at minus 160. So to balance that out, it would make sense to do Fakhretdinov decision and then balance it out with under 2.5. And by the way, even in general, I think you should be picking the under because Kevin Lee, his only chance to win is the under. So if Kevin Lee wins, we're going to be cashing in the under anyway, I would think. So yeah. But we could double dip. You could double dip on Fakhretdinov getting a submission win because Kevin Lee has been submitted 3 times. Charles Oliveira. Who else was it? I remember that. It was Oliveira submitted him. Oh, Dos Anjos, so RDA submitted him. Tony Ferguson submitted him. So if you're going to be on the ground for 15 minutes, you might get submitted. you might just get submitted, especially when the other guy has some submission wins. Although I will say, he's not really much of a submission kind of guy, Renat, from what I can tell. So I think actually Renat by decision is the way to lower the odds down because it seems a lot more likely than him getting a submission. Although he could get a ground and pound TKO for sure. So I could put money on, well, you could put Renat, I guess, finish, I guess. I don't know. That remains to be seen, but the under is for sure happening. That is definitely going to be bet on for sure. Then we've got an interesting one. I am very much looking forward to this one because I truly have no idea what's going to happen. It is Bruno Ferreira, or Fejeda, I think, because there's 2 R's. I'm not quite sure what difference that makes because I haven't done enough Portuguese lessons to know what that means. Whether that's Fejeda or Ferreira, I'm not sure, but we'll find out. Actually, we probably won't because the UFC kind of botches some of the names sometimes too. But that is against Nursultan Rutsiboyev, and this guy is when I was looking at the record, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't hugely impressed because it's like, okay, he's beating a bunch of these nobodies really quickly. Like, okay, what does that actually mean? But when I saw the guy actually fighting, I was like, oh shit. Like, this guy's an absolute fucking animal. Imagine somebody that fights like Chimaev, but he's 6'4". That's what we got. So is he as skilled as Chimaev? No, but he's got that just direct running straight into action and the skills. And I mean, like, you could say, yeah, again, he's fighting people that aren't necessarily the best, but you can see the way he's dodging the punches, especially at 6'4". These people don't usually have a lot of movement or dodging involved because they're so tall, they don't need to. They've got the length to deal with it. But this guy, the movement that he was doing, and then the actual combos back, like the returns, and even just going first, the striking is unbelievable. And then the ground game is terrifying. The guy has, I don't know how many wins on the ground with submissions, but he's just as dangerous on the feet. So, like, for real, this guy is terrifying. And like I said, this is at welterweight, and he is 6'4". The guy, anytime this guy fights, and I've seen a bunch of clips from a bunch of his fights, and I saw his last fight too. Actually, I can't remember which fight it was. I don't know if it was his last one or not, but he towers over every single fighter he fights against. And he honestly doesn't look like skinny. Like, you'd think at 6'4", 170 pounds, you'd be pretty thin. But honestly, he doesn't really look that skinny either. He just looks like a huge, huge guy. He is absolutely massive. And on the other side, he is undefeated at Fajeda, whereas Nursultan is not. He's not undefeated. But the way that he's kind of winning, I just don't. I think Nursultan has a much better chance because on the other side, Fajeda, he was losing. He was losing to Gregory Rodriguez, and he kind of just caught him out of nowhere and knocked him out clean, like literally out of nowhere, lands a counter. It says counter left. And I saw it. I rewatched it. He was losing. And then Gregory's walking forward, doing really well. And he just straight up doesn't see the punch coming at all. So, like, just straight up, the guy counters, bam, left. It wasn't even it was just a straight. It wasn't even like a crazy, like, bam, like powerhouse hook, overhand. It wasn't anything like that. It was literally just Gregory Rodriguez walked straight into a straight, like straight into the counter, got knocked out immediately. That's what happened. And Ruzaboyev is not going to do that. He's not going to walk into something stupid like that. He is, like I said, very hard to hit. He is very hard to hit, especially because he's so tall. And he has, I don't want to get this wrong now. Yeah, he's got a 6-inch height advantage. Height, not reach, a 6-inch height advantage. And let's see what the reach disadvantage is. So Fajeda is 72 inches reach. Ruzaboyev, we do not know. It is not listed. But I would imagine if he's 6'4", his reach has got to be 80 at least. Like, it'd be shocking if his reach wasn't 80 inches long, being 6'4", because that tends to be about what it is. At least 76 inches, maybe 78. So he's got a pretty obvious reach advantage in addition to his height advantage. Plus, he's an absolute animal. Like, I understand why he's the underdog right now, but trust me, I've looked into it. Ruzaboyev is definitely a live underdog. And this, again, is why I'm excited about this card, because there are so many underdogs that have a very clear chance at winning. The two ladies and then Ruzaboyev. Oh my God. No matter what happens, though, I will say Ruzaboyev is here to stay because that guy, he's so exciting and so huge. He's a monster. I mean, he's a fucking monster. So we will be seeing him again in the UFC no matter what, because this guy is just scary. I mean, you look at him and you're like, holy fucking shit. So yeah, cannot wait to see this guy fight. And I will be putting money on him for sure, because anybody that looks like that is definitely a live underdog. So Ruzaboyev plus 160 right now. That is what I will be putting money on. Ferreira minus 200. I don't like it because, again, he's only had one fight in the UFC. He was losing before that. So it's kind of like I can't justify minus 200, like betting on that, especially when I know the other guy is huge, huge. And that reach difference makes a massive difference, by the way, again, with Fajeda's strategy, which literally the only thing he ever does is gets into car crashes and, just swings everything into everything, hoping that he's going to land something to get a KO, which could he? Yes. But I mean, it's hard to hit somebody when they've got a huge reach advantage and especially height advantage like this. Hard to hit somebody like that, especially when they're also powerhouses and very dangerous on the ground. So all around, loving Ruzaboyev. Can't wait to see that. Over under is heavily going on that under minus 193. Again, they've both got a lot of first round finishes, so I'm not really surprised by that. This might be one of those scenarios where I actually, kind of like last week, go for the over because we haven't really seen either guy before. So I wouldn't be hugely surprised by that. And Nursultan has lost by decision a few times. So he has been in longer fights. So we know that he can go long. Whereas Fajeda, I don't believe he has. No, every single one of his fights has ended in the first round. Except for, except for two, which ended in about a minute into the first round. At the second round, I should say. So I don't know. I might have to go with the over on that one, just because he is harder to hit. I have a feeling that Ruzaboyev is going to be a little harder to hit, but I could see over. I think it's probably going to be under, just because they both want to get into a brawl. So I don't know, but I think I would probably put money on the over, though, to be honest. Anyway, cannot wait for that fight. That is a very exciting one. Cannot wait. Yeah. Then we've got another pretty one-sided one. This is where we get into I would actually say that all the ones after this are pretty one-sided. Saint Denis and Bonfim. I mean, Saint Denis, we've seen get absolutely dominated on the feet by Zaleski. I mean, that fight, again, I mentioned this last time he fought too. That was the fight where we had the worst UFC ref of all time. I can't remember his name now, but yeah, basically almost kill Saint Denis by allowing him to fight for all 3 rounds after he was getting just brutalized. And Bonfim is a way better striker than Zaleski is. So this is not going to be going well for Saint Denis. He is going to get absolutely shredded apart on the feet. And oh, by the way, Bonfim is probably better on the ground as well. So I don't really see this going well for Saint Denis at all. I think it's a pretty obvious call for Bonfim. He's at minus 325. Can't take that straight up. So I will be going with Bonfim finish, probably. If I had to get specific, I would definitely say KO, because Saint Denis is pretty good on the ground, so I can't imagine him getting submitted that easily. So KO seems like the obvious choice if I had to lower it even further, but we'll see what the odds are at. And the over under is, oh man, over 1.5, over under 1.5 right now. Minus 186 for over 1.5, plus 142 for under 1.5. Man, that is a tough one. I would probably put the money on under 1.5, just because it's at plus money. This is such a mismatch. I could see Bonfim just dominating him to the point where he can't fight, or even landing a flying knee, like against McKinney. That's who beat McKinney, by the way, if you didn't remember. This is the Bonfim brother that did that, because there are 2 brothers, of course. But yeah, this is the one that knocked out McKinney with a flying knee. So Could I see it being under 1.5? Yeah, I could definitely see that. So, not a bad choice. I might do that. We'll see. That's one where we'll see. Because again, the picks are so clear that it's like we need to lower these odds somehow. But yeah. Then we've got the ladies again, back with Ariane Lipski and Melissa Gatto. I'm not gonna lie. I was pretty confident about Gatto. Then I kind of looked at the footage, got a little bit less confident in Gatto, and then I watched. Then I kind of figured out. I was like, oh, like Gatto isn't necessarily that great, but Lipski has been struggling quite a bit, quite a bit, especially when it comes to the striking, and that is where I realized, oh, Gatto's the pretty clear choice because on the ground, I think Lipski's probably fine, but Gatto is bigger, so she could easily manhandle her or woman handle her on the ground. But also, it's really just in the striking because Lipski has been finished on the feet before. Gatto has a lot of power, so I could easily see Gatto winning on the feet, maybe even getting a finish on the feet, and then also probably reversing Lipski quite a bit when Lipski gets some kind of a clinch or takedown because she's just bigger. Which then settled me in, of course, on minus 225 for Gatto. Of course, that is over that minus 200, but we'll lower that, I would say, with Gatto by decision because that does seem like the pretty clear choice. And then lowering those odds with the under 2.5, which is at plus 116 right now, which again makes sense because Lipski has gotten submissions before. Maybe she gets a crazy knee bar in there, like she did before with the other fight. It's possible. It's possible. So plus 116, we'll go with the under because Gatto could get a knockout. That's mainly the main reason. And then lowering minus 225 down with the decision. So that is the way to go with that one. But these will all be in parlays for sure. Bonfim, Gatto, now Morales, and then of course Ismagulov and Strickland. Yeah, those will all be in parlays, but we'll get to that soon. Very quickly, actually. Morales. I mean, holy shit. Is he good? I was a little bit worried for a couple minutes in that Adam Fugit fight, but that was only because when I was watching it, especially too, I was like, is Michael Morales shit? Like, is he just not as good as we think he is? And then I realized, oh, it has nothing to do with Michael Morales. Adam Fugit is just better than we think. And which we've seen since then, because Michael Morales hasn't fought since then, but Adam Fugit we've seen 2 times after that, and we've seen, okay, Adam Fugit is just a lot better than we think he is, and he, tested Morales. He tested Morales a little bit, but even so, Morales still got a knockout in that fight. And he is just pure power, super creative. He will probably even get a finish in this one. I would not be surprised at all if he got a knockout. He is so powerful and creative with his striking. It really is impressive to watch. And he's still only, what is he, like 24, 25, something like that? I mean, it's crazy. And he is just getting better and better. Griffin is on the other side of it right now. Max Payne Griffin. I mean, he's going downhill. I think did he lose to Tim Means or did he win? Let me see here. I think he won that. It was a split decision, so it was close either way, which is again concerning going into this fight. Because if you're it wasn't a split decision win. So split decision win over Tim Means, that's concerning when you're going against Michael Morales, a human wrecking ball. Lost to Neil Magny before that, split decision. And then what? Like Carlos Condit win? Brutal. Yeah. So not really the same kind of violence level, cardio level, like just all around. Michael Morales is a scary dude. So you got to go with him. Pretty clear choice. Minus 250. We got to bring those odds down. So I'm not even sure if I want to go with Man, this is tough because again, my automatic instinct is to balance this out Morales finish and then balance that out or Morales decision, balance that out with the under, which is at plus money, plus 110. Um, or or do I go Morales finish and then the over just in case Griffin can somehow out cardio him and win somehow in a weird split decision or some shit. That could be plausible. Hmm. Or we just do under and Morales finish. But then of course then you run the risk, like I said, of going 0 and 2, and that's what you definitely don't want. That's the risk of doubling up. Shit. Nah, I'll probably end up doing Morales decision and then under 2.5 at plus 110. That's probably what I'll be doing. Yeah. But yeah, pretty clearly going in the Morales direction. And for the next two, I already have my picks picked out and made. I already put the money in because I was blown away by the price on this next one. It is. Oh my God, the price is actually better on Bet99 now. Wow. Holy shit. It is dead even on Bet99 almost. Minus 113 for Demir Ismagulov and minus 109 for Grant Dawson. I truly, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I have no idea why you would think this is a dead even fight. Truly, I have no idea why you would think this is even close. Demir Ismagulov is it's such an obvious pick for this. I have no idea why he's not a huge favorite. Truly, when I saw that, I fully expected when I saw this matchup. I fully expected Ismagulov to be minus 300, minus 400. The fact that it is at even money right now is baffling. I cannot believe that it's that. So much so that, like I said, I already made my bet. I got him for minus 120, which to me was an insane price. Now, like I said, he's minus 113. That's crazy. And I will go over why I think that is just batshit insane. That is a wild betting line, and I hope that people can take advantage of that betting line because that is a criminal betting line. Like, yes, Grant Dawson is 19-1-1. I understand the record, but I mean, on the other side, Demir Ismagulov is 24-2. So, is one really way better than the other in terms of the record? Probably not. So already you should be thinking this could be close, but still. Then you go into the actual their performances and who they've been fighting, and it is shocking that like then it becomes shocking as to why the odds are like this. So let me go through what Grant Dawson has done in his last 4 fights, or 3 fights actually, I should say. He beat Mark Madsen, submitted him. Like, okay, that's cool that you submitted Mark Madsen because that is an Olympic wrestler. That's cool. But Mark Madsen is almost 40. And not only is Mark Madsen almost 40, uh, he was dropped by him. He knocked Dawson down within the first like 30 seconds of the fight. That is an Olympic wrestler who who doesn't really strike much, dropping him, getting a knockdown against Grant Dawson in the first round. And you expect him to go against one of the most precise strikers we've ever seen in the UFC. That's what you're telling me right now? Like, do you see already where this is immediately falling apart? Not only that, he beat Jared Gordon, which is okay. Gordon's not really that great either. He took until the very end of the 3rd round, so basically the end of the fight to do that. And by the way, Gordon was kind of winning parts of those fights as well. I actually remember thinking, I was like, oh, okay, I should have picked Gordon in this case. And then he ends up winning by submission. So I was like, okay, well, whatever. And then before that, a draw, a draw against Ricky Glenn. So you're telling me a draw against Ricky Glenn, a come from behind, I think it was a come from behind win against Jared Gordon, and he was knocked down by Mark Madsen, and you think he's going to beat Damir Ismagulov, who we thought was going to be in the top 5. Like, he should be in the top 5 even now. I'm convinced he should easily be in the top 10 pretty easily. um yeah, so keep that in mind. And now I'll go through Ismagulov's record. The loss to Arman Sarukian, which, by the way, the only person other than Islam Makhachev who's been able to kind of stop the grappling of Arman Sarukian, and then was close on the feet with Arman. So it was a pretty close fight. Still definitely lost the fight because Arman is insane. Like, he's insanely good. So of course he lost that fight. And before that, he beat Guram Kutateladze in the split decision, which, to be fair, I thought he lost that one too. But those are two of the best, like, two easily top 10 people, like easily top 10. And he lost to them in very, very close fights. And then before that, he beat Rafael Alves, Thiago Moises, Joel Alvarez, and that's it. And then Alex Gorgees, who I don't know who that is, but he was undefeated at the time. So he beat somebody who was undefeated, beat Joel Alvarez, beat Thiago Moises, which is insane. Moises is really good. Beat Alves, who's really good as well. And then split decision win over Guram, decision loss to Arman Sarukian. And because of that loss, he was so pissed off that he somehow lost a fight. Truly, he was so mad that he even somehow lost one fight that he was considering retirement. That is how dominant this guy is used to being. And you're telling me that you think Grant Dawson is going to somehow beat him? You're out of your fucking mind, which is why this betting line is crazy. It is absolutely insane, this betting line. Minus 113 on Damir Ismagulov. Put that money down now. Like, literally right now, put the money down. Because that's crazy that that's the betting line. Not only that, I actually think it's kind of insane that they're favoring the over. Because, again, Damir Ismagulov is one of the most precise strikers we've ever seen. And Dawson has a habit of getting hit quite a bit. So could pretty easily see Ismagulov getting a KO, which is what I'm betting on. I've got Ismagulov and I've got the under. So I'm actually feeling very confident that we could easily cash in on both of those. Which is what I'm saying about this card. I really think there's a lot of potential to make a lot of money on this card, especially in this matchup specifically, actually. So I got Ismagulov at minus 120. Amazing price, truly. And I'm going for the under for sure. And the under right now is plus 175. Loving that. I get it. I understand why. But I mean, again, who is Ismagulov fighting? He's fighting Arman Sarukian. He's obviously not going to finish Guram or Arman. Didn't finish Thiago Moises. Didn't finish all these other. I mean, like, he's fighting top tier, elite, durable people. And now he's going against Grant Dawson. Like, I could very easily see him getting a knockout. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah. So that's a crazy one to me that's even close. Then we've got the main event, and I gotta say, I thought I got in early and made a good choice. I've actually seen the betting line go down now, going in the opposite direction. So I actually think I made a huge mistake betting this early on my next pick, which is Sean Strickland, I have to say. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure where all of this, like, truly, I do not understand the hype that Abu Smagomedov is getting. Truly, I don't understand. He's had one fight in the UFC, and it was a 30-second win, and it was against Stoltzfus, who doesn't belong in the UFC in the first place. That's it. That is his entire UFC career. And he's now going against a top 10 middleweight. Like, nobody's questioning that at all. Like, I and what's crazy to me, like, truly insane, when I thought about it, I was like, when I saw this announced, I didn't question it either. I was just like, "Oh, okay. Like, oh, okay. Magomedov, Strickland, that makes sense." But then I actually looked into it, like, for 30 seconds, and I was like, "Wait a second. This matchup makes no sense. If this was anybody else other than somebody with a name like Magomedov, we'd be like, what in the fuck is this main event? What is happening?" Truly. You got, again, Sean Strickland, who had a split decision against Cannonier and who's beating pretty much everybody else. And you got Magomedov on the other side who has 30 seconds of UFC time. What? Like, that's crazy. That is crazy talk. So, and it's in a main event. Why is Magomedov in a main event? What is happening? It's so weird. It is a bizarre, bizarre fight. So, and if this were anybody else, I think the person in the main the ranked person would be a huge, huge favorite. And I mean like massive favorite if this was anybody else. But because you've got Sean Strickland on one side of it, people don't necessarily take him seriously. And on the other side, you've got somebody with the name Magomedov. Like, I totally understand why the betting line is like this for this matchup. But if this was anybody else, you'd be seeing the ranked person with a huge, huge advantage, which is why I had to take him at minus 175. That's what I got him at. So I guess I jumped the gun a little bit because now it's down to minus 150. That's what happens. But I mean, I get some prices better than probably a lot of people. So it balances out. So I got a couple worse prices than most people. So, it ends up balancing out. I mean, this is a whole bunch of math. Really, it's a math exercise, a lot of this. So, you can find your numbers here and there, shop around on different betting sites and get better prices, of course. But we're sponsored by Bet99, so don't do that. Anyway. So yeah, Strickland minus 175. That's what I got him at. And then I got to go under 4.5. I'm not going to go under 3.5 because that's what it is at now, is the 3.5 mark. Oh, maybe. Whatever I guess is worth more money. Yeah. Because you don't really see more 3-round finishes than 4-round finishes. They're about the same. So, because once you pass, I would say the second round and even the third round, the chances of a finish are basically the same for fourth and fifth. So, I would probably go with the under 3.5. Yeah, I would probably go with under 3.5, which is at plus 108 right now. Because, I mean, like, we've seen Sean Strickland get knocked out really quick before, obviously, with Pereira. So could he walk into something? Yeah, he could easily get knocked out by Magomedov because Magomedov did that to Stoltzfus. He could land something like that. I don't think that's likely. What I actually think is more likely is I actually think that Strickland getting a finish is also pretty likely because even though he doesn't really get a lot of finishes, he's clearly shown that he's getting a lot more aggressive with his style, trying to get more finishes because he realizes his style isn't necessarily great for judges. I mean, it can be, but like what he did with that other fight. Oh man, the guy who just beat Chris Curtis, or no contest against Chris Curtis, right? Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so he's trying to get more finishes now, and not to mention we haven't seen Magomedov at all, like literally at all, like 30 seconds. That's it. And he was finished in the PFL twice. So if you're finished in the PFL twice, you've got 30 seconds of time in the UFC. I'm going under. And yeah, I'm going under for sure, just in case. Because that could mean one of two things. Either he's going to get a crazy finish or he's going to get finished real quick. That could mean that. We've seen that quite a bit. So I like it. I like the betting lines on actually, like I said, I like the betting lines on the whole card. I really, really do. I think it's looking fantastic. So that is it. That is all I have right now. Oh, actually, hold on. Nah. I was going to put in a third bet for that Strickland one, but we'll see how the betting lines work out. I like to sometimes put a third bet in the main event. So we'll see. Oh, yeah. So sniper pick. That ended up being Guram. I had to put him as the sniper pick, and I got a great. I actually did get a great price on this one. This is no joke. I actually did get a good price. I got him at minus 500. Right now, he's at minus. What is he at here? What did I say he was at before? Minus 650. So that price is long gone, and it is gone on most of the other sites too. Minus 500. Got in early. Got it done. Really happy about that because it is a sniper pick. So, the more profit we can earn on a sniper pick, the better. So minus 500, I put in 5 units. That equals, of course, exactly 1 unit of profit when he wins. And I am saying when because we win the sniper picks. We don't lose sniper picks. Fuck that. I did lose one actually on camera. That was shitty, but still, I don't usually lose sniper picks. So minus 500, 5 units, love it for 1 unit of profit. Love that. Because if I was doing it now, I would probably have to bet 7 units. That's more risk for a slight bit more profit because it would be 7. So it's more than 6.5. I don't know. Anyway, that's a sniper pick. Then that brings us to the parlays. And this is what I'm really excited about because honestly, I would be pretty surprised if any of these people lost, except for maybe F, which you'll see who that is in a second. So A, that is Brito. Usually, or Brito, whatever. Usually I go with my sniper pick as A, but because of the way I bet it, because I put the money in so early, and I kind of wanted to balance it out a little bit more because I'm so confident about all of them, I put Brito as A and Guram as B. I just figured, let's balance it out a little bit more. And maybe I've actually thought about doing that a little bit more. Like maybe instead of putting all of the emphasis on A, the sniper pick, because then it would be the sniper pick, almost all the parlays. It's a lot on one person. And again, truly 90% of the time, I do get it right. So those are pretty good odds. But on the off chance that they do, it would be nice not to lose all of the parlays and the sniper pick as well. That would kind of suck. So I'm toying around with doing that, but I'm not sure. It also depends on the card because sometimes there's 2 obvious ones like this one. There's multiple obvious ones, so I can do that. But on a card that's closer, like the last one, you don't really want to do that. So we'll see. Well, I'll play it by ear. Again, this is something that changes. So we'll see. Anyway, so A is Brito, B, Guram, C, Bonfim, and then we get into D, which is Ismagulov, which will lower the odds considerably in all those ones. And E is Morales. F is Gatto. So could I see Gatto losing to Lipsky? Yes, that is the, and truly out of all 6 of those, that's the only one that I'm slightly worried about. And that's why I put her at F. And I put Ismagulov at D just because, actually, wait a sec. Who's better here? No, I stand by that because Griffin he's got the experience, he's got the cardio. So I could see, if anything, he could edge a weird decision that would piss the entirety of Twitter and MMA community off if he lost like that. But if Morales lost like that, but it's plausible. So that's why I have that like that. So, I mean, the ABC though, rock solid. Brito, Guram, Bonfim, they're not losing. They ain't losing. No fucking way are they losing. So yeah, confident about that. And of course, that is the first parlay, ABC. That is the triple play that we go for. And that is always 1 unit. I can't imagine the odds are going to be that high for that, especially when these bets roll around. In fact, I might actually be putting these bets in tonight, possibly, because to make the numbers a little bit better before they get way out of control. So ABC, that's good. ADF, that is Brito, Ismagulov, and Gato. Those are great odds, actually, because Ismagulov really lowers them, and Gato is kind of low as well. So that's a great one. BCE, that's Guram, Bonfim, Morales. Love that. ABDF, that is Brito, Goram, Ismagulov, and F. Gato. I like it. And then, of course, we've got the Grand Slam, which we cashed in last week. That is ACDE. So that's Brito, Bonfim, Ismagulov, and Morales, which is a pretty solid looking parlay, if I'm not going to lie. If I'm being honest here, that's a good looking parlay. And then, of course, all of them, which is all 6. And if we cash in all 6 here, that's some big profit on this one. Normally it would be more, to be fair, because there's a lot of more one-sided ones on this card, but because of Ismagulov in general, he really lowers the odds down in this one. But yeah, that's it. I did not want to add in. I could have added in, I probably could have added in Romanov and maybe even Fakhretdinov on top of that or something. Or maybe even, what was the other one? There was another one I was looking at. Actually, no, I don't think there was. Oh, Strickland, right. Yeah, Strickland was the other one. But Strickland is a bit iffy. So not doing that. But yeah, I could have put Romanov in there, as well as I'm getting so hungry and weak. I'm starting to lose my train of thought now. Romanov. Who was the other one? I just said it. Oh yeah, Romanov and Fakhretdinov. I could have put them in and made like an 8 one and then split it up between even more, made a couple more parlays, but there's just no point. Like, we want to focus on getting profit. I feel so confident about all 6 of those people. Why would you throw in 2 extra on top of that, especially when you're already betting on them separately, which is why I kind of questioned why I actually put those in last week, those extra parlays. I probably shouldn't have done the 6 in there. I should have done 4 or 5. Probably would have done better. Which is weird, because like it really does bug me that I haven't been able to get profit on the UFC as much, because when I win almost every single card that is not the UFC. Last week I made insane profit on PFL, and what else was there? I need to see here. I need to see what this was. What was last week? Because this was actually my best week by far in terms of results like that. Yeah. Profit on Aries, dominated there. Profit on Unified. Profit on One Championship, dominated there. Insane there. 6 units up in one. And PFL got some money there as well. Lost in LFA, Ryzen, and Fury, but they were small losses. The Fury one was actually a bigger loss. That was bad. That was a bad one. But still, I win over half of the events outside of the UFC. I just, for some reason, the UFC, it's because I bet it differently, I think, but it really does bug me because there's so much opportunity with UFC that I really should be winning a lot more, because my best week was a UFC week and it was like 12 units up. So it's there. It's plausible for sure, but just hasn't been coming together. But this week, for real, I mean, I'm feeling great about this week. I really, really am. I mean, those parlays, love the parlays, love the individual bets as well. I feel really, really good about this week. So hopefully it's going well. Anyway, so that's this Saturday. Next week, oh man, next week we're going to be talking about the pay-per-view, International Fight Week. Volkanovski and Rodriguez, Moreno, Pantoja, Bo Nickel is back. Who else is there? There's a couple other really exciting ones on there. Either way, I cannot wait. And I already know, you know who the sniper pick is. It's Bo fucking Nickel. There is no way in hell he is going to lose that fight. There is absolutely no way. Trayshawn Gore does not grapple really much at all. Bo Nickel is going to mangle Trayshawn Gore. It is not even going to be close. Cannot wait to see that. That's already a preview. That's my sniper pick. There is no way I'm going to anybody else other than Bo fucking Nickel. So that's what's next week. Cannot wait for that. And I can't wait to get this profit on Saturday. So without, that's all I got to say. Oh yeah, right. Of course, as always, if you want to see any of the other sports, Area 51, which is a hole in my head, whoa, is down below. They've got all the other sports. I've got all the MMA stuff. All my socials are down below. I'm trying to find my outro here. Where is it? Yeah, I'm excited. So that is it for me. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.